again. Travel photography. A few words on travel photography. Travel photography is no different than any other type of photography. Good travel photography isn't necessarily about the person or the place in the camera's frame, but instead it is about how the subject existed in that specific moment in time. It doesn't matter if you're in your own backyard or you're in Ladakh. It simply comes down to a moment in time and how you chose to reveal it. In one of my meetings about a week back, people wanted to know what was my equipment. This is all that I carry with me, depending on where I'm going and what I'm planning to shoot, whether it's wildlife or it's landscape. But mostly I try to carry everything because I never know what's going to sprout up or come out during my stay or my visit to that place. Yes, I have upgraded myself as far as a camera goes. I carry with me in the photos I show you on the Death Valley. It's a Nikon Z6, the mirrorless one. It's a wonderful camera. Then I have got one more new lens that is 70 200mm f4 Nikon, and I have a teleconverter. In my visit to the Death Valley, I've used ND filters. I have 4 of them. I have ND filter graduated, that is 1 stop and 3 stop. I have an ND filter which is variable up to 6 stop, and I have an ND filter which is 10 stop. The most important of all this are my prescription glasses, because if something happens to the glasses I'm wearing and I don't have a spare one, then believe me, all my photographs are going to be out of focus. So I take you to the Death Valley. Death Valley, the word itself sounds very morbid. It gives some sort of fear to the people. You think of the spirits, you think of the ghosts, and also, yes, the clouds look very dramatic. How did this place get the name Death Valley? It was in the winter of 1849 and 1850. A group of pioneers had lost themselves in the valley. One of their colleagues died, and the others were scared. They were afraid. They started thinking that this was going to be the graveyard, and hence the name was given to this national park as Death Valley. I looked further, what is Death Valley, in the Oxford Dictionary. And it states here that Death Valley is a deep, arid desert basin below sea level in southeastern California and southwestern Nevada, the hottest and the driest part of North America. It contains the lowest point in the US at Badwater, which is 282 feet below sea level. Doesn't look exciting, doesn't look inviting. But friends, believe me, Death Valley is a photographer's paradise. It has vivid colored badlands. It has enormous dunes. It has serpentine canyons. It has crater. And it also has an IDA certification. IDA certification is very important for me nowadays whenever I travel. What does IDA stand for? It stands for International Dark Area. It certifies that this place or this park has the minimal light pollution. Hence, I planned my trip accordingly to it, whether it's going to be a new moon or it's going to be a full moon night. I went to Death Valley when it was a new moon night. We took the car from Las Vegas and we drove down to Death Valley. On the way, we had to cross the scenic Mojave Desert. This is a part of the Mojave Desert. The largest national park in states is the Death Valley. It is of 3.3 million acres or 3,000 square miles. That is when you combine both the national park belonging to Nevada and national park belonging to California. It is the largest national park with, in 2018, there were about 1.7 million tourists who visited the national park. 91% of this park is designated to wilderness. This trees have a name. They call it the Joshua tree. It was named by the early Mormon travelers. They visualized that this was Joshua standing with the arms stretched out towards the Lord and praying. We had planned that the first evening itself, we're not going to waste time, but we're going to see the sunset at Dante's View, or Dante's Peak as you call it. This is a shot of the Dante's View. It's about 5,500 feet above sea level. It is known as the terrace viewpoint for the Death Valley and the Badlands below. The Badwater, sorry, not the Badlands, the Badwater. The Badwater is this white color. It's the salt pans. So you get to see the Death Valley and the Badwater from this point. This is a small town called Beatty, which is about 40 miles away from the Death Valley National Park. Death Valley has only 2 hotels in the national park, and both of them were overbooked. So we stayed in the Beatty, which is about 40 miles away. And then we would travel every morning and every evening from Beatty to the Death Valley. This is the road taking us 40 miles towards the Death Valley. Just after the BT, about 20 miles or 25 miles, comes Junction. It is called the Hell's Gate. It is appropriately named because from here you enter into the Death Valley. There are 2 roads, which is 190 East and 190 West. It's a junction of both these roads. And both these roads take you to different tourist attractions of the Death Valley. This is the view of the Death Valley. Barren, wild, desolate, empty. The first thing we did that morning was we visited the Artist Palette. It's a 9-mile drive. It's called the Artist Drive. It's one-way drive. And you see the splendor of the beautiful colors on the Amargosa mountain range. These colors are due to oxidation of different metals and minerals. For example, the red and the pink and the yellow is because of the iron. And manganese gives you the purple and mica gives you green. So this looks like an artist's palette, different colors. And every tourist attraction, wherever you go in the Death Valley, there are hiking trails of 1 hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, and you could go hiking for all the days. You got to remember here, when you go hiking, of 2 things. One is to carry enough water with you, and secondly, to remember your way back where you started, because this is Death Valley, and you do not have the telephone, internet coverage in all these places. This is the Badwater Basin. It is the lowest point in North America. It's 282 feet below sea level. These are the salt pans. Death Valley is the hottest and the driest in North America. On July 10th in 1913, it had recorded the highest temperature. That is a 57 degrees centigrade, 134 Fahrenheit. That is, I would say, getting grilled very well done. Today also, I just checked the weather for the day. The park wardens over in Death Valley have issued a warning of excessive heat. Today, I think it's about 49 degrees centigrade. That would make it about 120 Fahrenheit. That's today's temperature. The annual rainfall in the Death Valley is about 2.5 inches. And this, what you see, the hexagonal, is known as the hexagonal saucer pans, in which the water is collected, and due to excessive heat, the water evaporates, leaving a thin white film of table salt. These are naturally formed when the water starts drying. It is also a very scenic spot for the photographers, because from here you could get the full moon shining glare on it at night, or you could get very nice Milky Way at night. That's we're on way to Harmony and Borax. Beautiful scenic mountains on the way. I think the mountains behind contains a lot of borax ore. The mountains in different light with different ND filters. That is Harmony and Borax Works factory or the workshop. In 1883, there were 40 people employed here who were working to extract the borax. And this borax was then transported by 20 mule team, they call it. It's a very famous team of 20 mules, which is to pull these wagons, transport the borax from the Death Valley. And they have these ruins, and in the far right-hand corner, you see the wagons of 1883. Now, like I mentioned before, this whole Death Valley has been certified as an international dark area. There's an independent international body which gives you the clearance or the certificate of the dark area, which looks at the minimal light pollution, excuse me, minimal light pollution, the distance of the light source coming to that area, and then your commitment towards creating awareness on the light pollution and giving lectures on astrology. When we were there, we had two speakers that night on the new moon night from NASA discussing and telling us something more about the planet Mars. This is how it looks. That many stars you can see. The stars are there everywhere, but because of the light pollution, you cannot see this number. The white spot that you see there is the planet Jupiter. This shot was taken at an ISO of 5000. It's a 15-second exposure with f2.8, and it's a 14 mm lens, prime lens. We were there and we spent a good amount of time over there that evening. This is my star trail shot. This is the 45 minutes exposure, ISO at 100, f2.8, 14 mm. That's the Milky Way, just above the wagons, the 20 mule team wagon. And this has an ISO of 6400. It's 25-second exposure with ISO 6400, 25-second, f2.8, and it's 14 mm. The previous one, which I showed you about the Star Trail, that had 45-minute exposure. This one has 25 seconds. The next morning was very wet morning. It was foggy, misty, and we decided not to go much far away because there are a lot of places on 190 East and 190 West on the Death Valley Drive, which are below sea level. So if it rains heavily, the chances of it getting flood, or there's a very high chance of you having been caught in the flash flood itself. So we went to a nearby place that's about 10 to 20 minutes drive, and that is the ghost town. This is the welcome sign. These are made of plaster or gypsum. It's a ghost town, abandoned and in ruins. We went during the tourist hours, and what's the advantage of going during the tourist hours is that no ghosts are around. You're not the ghosts are not supposed to check in at that time. So sorry, friends, no pictures of the ghosts over here. This is a scene of the ruin from an abandoned house. There are ruins everywhere. You have ruins of the bank, you have ruins of the casino, you have ruins of the post office, you have ruins of a lot of residences around, all left, and they're all in the similar state as you see this ruin. These are the cars left behind. So we had a very good morning, moving around in the ghost town. Well, he's not a ghost, he's live. He was a person siding over there in the Death Valley, and he obliged me by taking a portrait shot of him. This is on the way to Ubi Hib crater. This is about a mile away, and you can see the landscape changing. All the soil is black due to the eruption. And that's the Uhibi crater. The water on the top was converted to steam because of the hot lava underneath. And this steam exploded, and when it exploded, it formed this crater. There's a 3-mile walk around the rim, and you'll see a lot of tourists doing that. Lovely colors, once again due to different content of the metal and minerals in the soil. And we chose to go down. It's 600 foot deep. It looked easy to go down, but it's very difficult, believe me, to climb up because the soil is just like sand, gravel, tiny pebbles that when you put your foot on it, it gives way and it becomes very difficult to climb up. But it was wonderful because we got lovely shots of the interior of the crater. It was my first experience to step inside the crater. So deep as this. There was one in Iceland, it's called Carrot Crater, but not as deep as 600 foot over here. That's the bottom of the crater. That's the Mosaic Canyon. It's famous for its serpentine trails in the canyon. You'll find a lot of resemblance to the Golden Canyon because it glows. And as you move and as the light changes, you get different shades and hues of the gold color. It also has marble glazed walls, and you will see that all along your way into the canyon. Here you see very clearly the marble glazed wall on the left. Reminded me of Mackina's Gold, the Gregory Peck movie. And the enormous sand dunes, it's called Mesquite dunes. They are as high as 140 feet to over 600 feet. That's the height from the top crest of the dune to the bottom. They're surrounded by mountains all the way. It's a beautiful spot to go during the sunrise or at sunset. The name is given because of one of the bush over there. It's called mesquite. And you come down to the dramatic Badlands. This is what it's famous for. The landscape is full of gullies and mud hills, and it gives you a different color as the sun moves on, you know. You get different light on it, you get different shades of colors on it. Once again, the best time to be here is at sunrise, the golden hour, and at sunset, the golden hour. The black over here is the deposit of lava. These are the dramatic badlands of Aramgosa mountain range. The badlands. That's the Red Cathedral. There's the Red Mountains. And you'll find people going on trails or hiking everywhere. There's people going on hiking on the Red Mountains over here. This is a famous point, the Zabriskie Point. You can see the bad water in the background, the white. People hiking. Hiking trails. Make sure you carry a lot of water with you. And that's the sunset, golden glow on the Red Mountain. So we go down from a low of minus 2,882 feet below sea level. I take you now up to 11,500 feet above sea level. That's Ladakh. The unforgettable, spectacular, jagged and arid mountains enfold this magical Buddhist ex-kingdom. There are a lot of monks over here, a lot of monasteries, and a lot of stupas. This is a shot taken from the plane showing you the Himalayan range. Ladakh lies to the northernmost tip of India. It is between the Himalayan mountains and the Karakoram mountain range. Ladakh is at 11,500 feet. So any tourist, any person who wants to visit Ladakh has got to acclimatize himself or herself because of the high altitude. So there are two ways to acclimatize. One is either you go down to some hill station. People from England and Greece should go down to the Swiss Alps or the Italian Dolomites, stay at that high altitude, and then fly to Ladakh. So you are going gradually up. All the other ways, like I did it, I flew from Dubai at sea level straight to Delhi, and then I went to Ladakh. So from sea level to 11,500 feet, I was within 6 hours. So I had to acclimatize over there for 2 days. So for 2 days, I had to stay in the hotel room or just walk very slowly, no steps, no running, no going uphill. Once you acclimatize, then you start moving out into the city of Leh. When you're booking and reserving your program or your itinerary, please ask your travel agent to book an oxygen cylinder for you and put it in the car. Oxygen cylinder with the tubes and the mask, because in case if anyone gets the high altitude sickness or the mountain sickness, as you call it, for signs such as dizziness, breathlessness, or disorientation, you could take the mask and start breathing the oxygen. The oxygen is very rare at this high altitude, and it will get still rarer once you go to Pangong Lake, which is at 14,270 feet, and further up to Kurdangla Pass, which is at 17,582 feet. Map your route and ensure that the roads are open. I remember a friend group of photographers of mine in Dubai. They went in July, a very safe month to go over there. But then they met with an avalanche, and then luckily no one got hurt, but they had to spend the whole day over there. Wear adequate sun protection because it's a very high altitude and the UV rays are very strong. You even get clothing now from Colombia, which gives you a UV protection, omni-shade they call it. There's the city of Leh, an aerial shot as the plane was landing. Leh has a population of about 150,000. Ladakh has a population of over 300,000. Leh being the biggest city, 150,000. %of the Leh's populations are Buddhist, and the other 20% make up of Hindus and Muslims. While we were acclimatizing, we just sat in the car and we were driven to see this local polo match between the two local teams. Once again, for 2 days when you're acclimatizing, no running, no climbing uphill, no climbing stairs, nothing that is going to exert your body, where your body will start demanding of more oxygen. These are stupas. These are made of earth and bricks. They say it resembles a sitting Buddha meditating, striving for enlightenment. This you'll see them everywhere over there on the streets.
I didn't get that. You can also try spelling it.
Sorry for that. You'll see them everywhere in the city, and they have this flag, the string of flags, which represents the four elements. The 4 elements are earth, air, water, and fire. All the 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. These are the stupas which are very close to the residence of the spiritual leader, Dalai Lama, who's the spiritual leader of the monks, of the Buddhist people over there. And once again, here the stupas with the colorful flags. This is the largest stupa in Leh city. It was funded by the people of Japan, and it is called the Shanti Stupa. Shanti in the Indian language means peace. So it translates to peace stupa. These are the monasteries crowning the mountain tops. There are 15 monasteries in Ladakh. All of them are very colorful, very scenic, and they add a lot of beauty to the landscape if you want, when you start taking pictures of. There's another one big monastery. You can see the statue of Buddha, huge statue on the right-hand side, and you can see the monks in the center, so you can get a scale of the monastery as well as the Buddha statue. High up in the mountains with the Himalayan range behind it. The monks are there. The monks are called lamas in these monasteries, and they are there doing all the odd jobs in maintenance of the monasteries. This is the Hermes monastery. Here you see the monks or the lamas preparing for the annual festival day, which is on June 30th and July 1st. They just went by. And this is in the Hermes National Park, which is also famous national park for spotting the snow leopard. Once again, the monks in one of the oldest monastery. And on the festival day, all the local people gather over here, and there are plenty of foreigners, along with them, plenty of photographers. That's the orchestra. And that's the statue of Buddha in the Hermes monastery. An interesting story over here I was trying to focus this golden glow of the setting sun on this mountain peak. And while I was there with my camera on the tripod and trying to focus and set the camera, I saw a newly married couple, young couple, coming towards me. And the man asked me whether I would take a couple of the pictures for the memory or for the trip over there in Leh Ladakh. I took the camera. I took a couple of shots in with different backgrounds, different scenes, and I gave back the camera and I went back to my camera to start focusing on this peak to capture the golden glare. After a few moments, I saw this young man come running towards me and told me, uncle, look behind you. And I just turned around and this is what I saw behind me. A lovely picture, just the golden glow on the mountain, not yet touching the monastery. And this picture means a lot to me because it was published by the National Geography, and it motivated me to take up my photography to higher level. It ignited my passion because if I had missed this shot, and after a few moments, if I turned behind, and I would have seen this. Everything had turned gold. So like you say, one good deserves another. Well, this is a prayer wheel. It's a prayer drum. It's cylindrical in shape and it rotates on a spindle. Well, you've got to move it clockwise. You will find a lot of them all outside the walls of the monasteries. And you just keep pushing each one clockwise as you come down or you step up or you walk around. There's a young monk who joined the monastery when he was 5 years old. There's a monks over here, painting, polishing. And this is the highway which takes you still higher up from Leh to Pangong Lake. Pangong Lake is situated at 14,300 feet above sea level. You could make it a day trip or you could stay overnight over there. And this is the first view I got of the Pangong Lake, surrounded by mountains, different color, different shades, and beautiful blue sky. This is another picture which was published by National Geographic. Lovely shades and hues of blue. This has brackish water. The water flowing into the lake from the east is sweet, and the water flowing from the west is salty. So we call it brackish, not as bitter as the salty water and not as sweet as the sweet water. It freezes over in winter. It's a favorite destination for honeymooning couples. That's the confluence of the two rivers. We call it in Indian language the Sangam, where the two rivers meet. The gray one you see from the top is the one which is carrying a lot of silt. That is the Zanskar River. And the bottom green is the Indus River. So the two rivers meet at this point. That's the highest motorable road in the world, going towards the Khardungla Pass. They call it the highest motorable road because there may be other roads which are still higher than this, but no motors travel on it. So on this road, the motors can go up all the way, 17,800 feet, and then you go all the way down into the Nubra Valley. When you reach the top, you have a temple over here, loaded with strings and strings of flags, prayer flags. I'm sure people hoping and praying for a safe pass through Khardungla Pass. There's even a notice or a signboard over there that this is the highest place, 17,800 feet. So people should not be staying over here for more than 30 minutes because the air has so rare oxygen. The oxygen is very less in the air at this place and it will start affecting your body. So you stay there for 30 minutes and then sit in your car and start going down into the valleys. That is the Nubra Valley, the land of white sand dunes. Might be surprising my friends in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. Definitely Said, I miss you here. Very different from the sands of Liva. It was a very dusty and stormy afternoon. You see the tourists going for the camel rides over here. That's my driver freshening up in the valley of Nubra with Nubra River. And that's the Nubra Monastery, the biggest monastery in Nubra, high up, perched on the mountain. There's the other view of the same monastery. And we can see here the infrastructure. The cars can come all the way up. Very good infrastructure in Leh Ladakh. You could take the car right up to the bottom of the monastery. And then, yes, of course, yes, there are a few steps that you can walk up to see the monastery from inside. Opposite to this monastery was another mountain, and crowned on the top of that mountain is this huge statue of Buddha, 31 meters tall. We can see the man giving a scale at the foot of the Buddha. A beautiful picture on a beautiful morning. The local residents, very polite people, very cooperative, very friendly with the photographers. I hope we photographers keep the relation that way. And that brings me to the end of Leh Ladakh. Thank you. I always like to put this words or saying by Saint Augustine, the world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. Thank you very much, everyone.